Welcome to the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals video on the trauma of sexual harassment. So in this video, we're going to look at what sexual harassment is and how it can cause trauma and problems for individuals who are victims of it. So again, this is part of our series of psychological and grief-related topics that fall within our many numerous behavioral certification programs themselves. So let's take a closer look at sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is any type of unwanted sexual advances, and it can be as simple as comments, looks, jokes, gestures, or on a higher level, actions. And all of these looks, jokes, gestures, or actions, they infringe upon one's boundaries and comfort. Now, sometimes it might not be implied or felt by one party over the other. But the important thing is that the offended party felt it. And within that, it needs to be made known that something was done. Now, most of the time, sexual harassment is usually intentional when these types of looks, jokes, or gestures are pushed. And many times, individuals want to minimize it, unfortunately. And that's a big problem. Now, sexual harassment can be perpetrated by either gender, by either sexual orientation, and it can be through any age. It can be on a man to a woman or a woman to a man, or it can be between two homosexuals. It does not matter. It can occur in any environment, from professional and academic to merely social settings within groups. It violates the very ethical standards and boundaries of any type of professional behavior itself. Fortunately, sexual harassment is being more brought to light with the Me Too movement, and it is being brought to light to the point where it's no longer ignored or downplayed, that it is reported, and that the concerns of the victim are not dismissed. So there are various dynamics psychologically and socially that exist within harassment, and they're not all in one the same fit. Sexual harassment in some cases has a dynamic of one having power over another. And it can also be more than just power. It can also be a dynamic of a group, not just one person, but a group over an individual. And in some cases, this type of harassment can also mutate into stalking within the office itself, or stalking beyond the office and into social settings themselves. Now, it doesn't just have to be verbal or physical. It can also be nonverbal, as we pointed out, by looks or gestures. And it is important to remember that we cannot, in these types of dynamics, dismiss what is happening to the victim. We can't marginalize it and say the perpetrator didn't mean it or that it was taken out of context. It has to be taken into the context of the individual. The victim's feelings has to be felt, and the situation has to be remedied. And if it truly was unintentional, then through a professional process, this dynamic can be corrected, and there will no longer be this sense of tension that exists. Unfortunately, many times in this dynamic of power, the victim feels threatened or feels obligated to reciprocate the care. This especially happens between a boss and an employee, or a teacher and a student, or a coach and a player. These types of harassment makes these individuals feel that if they want to achieve something, then they have to perform a certain way. Numerous times, the victim is the one to be made to feel at fault, or that they deserved it, the way they were dressed or the way they moved. And this is far from the truth. As a result of these things, many victims can suffer from anxiety in the workplace, depression, or go into an acute state of crisis due to the harassment. They may be afraid to go to work or to school or to be in the area due to the harassment they're receiving. And some of the types of harassment may just be simple bullying as well. We see that many times in schools. Unfortunately, those with past trauma, especially sexual assault, this can lead to trauma reemerging, and it can trigger PTSD within a particular individual. And this is something that counselors would need to be made aware of. So, how do counselors help someone who comes into their office saying they are being sexually harassed? And obviously, the individual's anxiety is at a higher level. Well, counselors need to play a key role in showing empathy and support to the victim who is experiencing sexual harassment. It's important that the counselor ensures that the victim feels safe within the counseling room to discuss harassment. The counselor is there to validate the experience as something is wrong and to promote resiliency and build self-esteem within the client throughout the process. Counselors need to empower the victim to report. And barring, of course, any type of sexual assault, the counselor would need to report it themselves. But beyond that, empowering the victim to understand that there is a process, that people will listen, that no matter the threats, no matter the perceived slights, no matter the perceived images, it's important to go forward before it's too late. Counselors can also help the victim cope with any types of stress, depression, or anxiety associated with the harassment and help treat it through a variety of therapies. Cognitive therapies, Rogerian therapies, as well as exposure therapies to help victims express, process, and heal from the actual experience itself. So it's important to fight back against sexual harassment. The patriarchal norms of boys will be boys that used to exist in the early and mid 20th century has to be dismissed. And it is being dismissed. So sexual harassment must be exposed and openly condemned within society as unethical and even in some cases criminal within practice itself. Companies and academic institutions need to promote a zero tolerance policy that is well known to every single employee or student or member of an organization. So within this zero tolerance, norms and boundaries are given with any profession or trade by any association. And these norms and boundaries are given and presented to all that are there within the trade. And eventually, even when those within the trade enter into a particular office setting, these ideas of no sexual harassment, zero tolerance need to be displayed in the employee room in broad daylight. There should also be training and identifying what constitutes sexual harassment. There should be seminars or professionals who come in and discuss what it is and what not to do and how to report. So when these procedures are clearly established and laid out, it can not only give everyone more a sense of security, but it can also prohibit future predatory action of others on those because they know the consequences itself. Ultimately, it's not just society, but it's the individual firms, the individual academic institutions that need to promote a culture of respect and accountability for others when it comes to sexual harassment and also bullying itself. So we are the American Institute of Healthcare Professionals. We offer a variety of behavioral health certifications. Below is our link. Our number is 330-652-7776, and our email is info@AIHCP.org. I'd like to thank you for listening and have a good day.